What's up, Batman fans out there? Troy to the Max Extreme here.
Ghost Hunter Dave.
And we're Imperius Rex.
We sure are. It's Troy.
Yeah.
He has risen. Have you heard the good word?
I have.
About our Bat God,
Oh,
Bruce Wayne?
I was hoping you were talking about Batman.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know
Jesus.
shit about Jesus.
Me neither.
But we are tying this in. We're doing some brand synergy.
That's
that
right.
Red Hood tipped us off on. And we're working in conjunction with Easter Sunday to follow up our Morrison Batman Volume 2 as we discuss the return of Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
This was a 6-issue miniseries that kind of went hand in hand with the tail end of Batman and Robin. And it encapsulated the return of Bruce Wayne, as you would imagine.
And collected in the second omnibus of the Morrison run, it runs concurrently, intermixed with the Batman and Robin run.
Yes.
And so, like...
Probably the best way to read it.
It was a great way to read it. I have a lot of questions.
Yes. Do we need to go to our
We
scholar?
probably should. If the first question, starting off...
What is Batman?
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Catch everyone up.
Yep.
Final Crisis,
Yep.
which is, for all intents and purposes, the death of Batman.
Yes.
Happening just months after what we all presume to be the death of Batman in Batman Rest in Peace.
Yes.
Fake out. Happens in Final Crisis. Darkseid shoots his Omega beams, blasts Batman to a cinder.
That's right.
He's done for.
He's done. You've seen that image where Superman carrying a Batman skeleton.
Turns out, he's not dead.
No, he's not dead. He has been jettisoned through time.
Through time, you say?
Through time, I say. Back into the prehistoric caveman era.
Oh my.
That's right. And pretty much now has to find his way back to his present. Quite a fun tale. Also, why did this happen? That is a question we proposed to Cody Walker.
That's right. Our resident bat spurt.
That's right.
So yes, he published a book, The Anatomy of Zur-En-Arrh, understanding Grant Morrison's Batman, which was extremely helpful.
Yes.
On this go-round of Morrison's Batman, published by Sequart organization, a critical analysis on contemporary comics.
Yeah.
Which is a very, very interesting company. They have put out a lot of books on Morrison. There's some Gaiman stuff. Really great handbooks for some of these dense reads that we've done on the show. Instrumental in understanding. Full disclosure, I get the gist of the story.
Yes.
But I want to know the intricacies of it.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I get that he's going through time.
Yep.
Why?
Exactly! Why? Why? Does everyone that Darkseid shoots go back in time and have to create their own destiny? That seems pretty stupid. But no, that's not the case.
No, we're gonna be like, we're gonna get to the bottom of this. So I reached out to Cody Walker. We had a full conversation with him, and he just laid it all on the line. He said, guys, I don't know. It's comics. But he gave us a much better explanation than that. But that is essentially what the takeaway was.
Right.
It's like, you know what? You can get all wrapped up in the minutia of this, but ultimately, it's a comic book. And it's fun, and it's this grandiose adventure. But, like, don't get too caught up in the intricacies.
But that's what we want to do!
So we asked Cody, what's up with these Omega beams? And this is what he said.
It's not meant to be like, well, why is Batman hurtling toward, will Batman create Armageddon, and how does that happen? It's meant to be just sort of standard high stakes comic book stuff. You know, he is hurtling towards the end because, and he will create Armageddon because that's what the story necessitates. Darkseid is using Bruce to end the world because he's Darkseid and he just sort of generally sucks.
Yep. I feel like Morrison is one of the only esteemed comic book writers that would get away with that. Yes. Where everyone else would be like, that's terrible writing. He's not even explaining it. It's like, it's just how it is, son.
It just is, you know? I mean, it's
man, that's just how it is.
There was a lot of criticism thrown Morrison's way during Final Crisis, where people were saying like, oh, none of this makes sense, and there's this and this. And I remember the response was that, well, this is what it would look like for the actual end of the world for comic book things. The enemy is not really Darkseid. The enemy is not really Mandrak or whatever, you know, the Anti-Monitor was or whatever. It's the white page. It's the blank page. And you go, oh, this book's like super meta. Like, yeah. And the same way with this is that Return of Bruce Wayne's not, I don't try to get into the weeds of why it is that the purpose of it was to pick apart what makes Batman tick. If you throw Batman in caveman times with no memories and no gadgets or anything like that, what makes Batman still Batman?
Right.
And can he still survive?
How's he gonna Batman his way out of this one?
Yeah, right. Yeah, his power is Batman, and he will Batman his way out. Yeah. And it's like he takes all these cavemen and turns them into little Robins and makes them into this little Batman tribe. Each issue is examining one particular piece of what makes Batman Batman. So at first we have what is this absolute stripped down bare bones, and it's you know that I'm going to overcome great odds, you know, in this caveman times. And then in Puritan times, what would that be like? Well, he'd be sort of this witch hunter that, you know, is actually kind of protecting, you know, people that are persecuted and things. Every issue is Batman sowing the seeds of his own mythology and is building up what, not just Batman as superhero, but Batman as mythological god, bat god, you know?
Yeah.
And Darkseid was sending him back so that he could kill him. And instead, Batman is so good, he created his own mythology, created his own figure of who he is throughout all of time, and sowed those seeds through everything. It's just astonishing how, I mean, I've read other good Batman books, but I just don't think that there's anything better than Morrison's Batman. It just is, it's peak perfect Batman. There's nothing better.
So, long story short, they were special Omega beams.
Right.
Yep. They were Omega sanctions.
Yep.
Or whatever.
They were new. Darkseid's been waiting for the perfect occasion.
Apparently he got caught off guard, also being shot with a time bullet or whatever.
Yep.
That's my theory. Regardless, Bruce Wayne shot back in time.
Have you thought about expanding that theory into a book? I hear there's a market for it.
There's no more words for it than what I just said.
All right.
It's not even an essay. It's a sentence.
Okay. So Bruce goes back to caveman times. And basically, his memory is wiped, and he has to kind of reinvent himself as Batman.
Yeah.
From the ground up.
Yes.
He doesn't even have language.
Right. At first, okay, when he was introduced to these other cavemen that were around, and he's just saying nothing. I'm like, does that what English sounds like to these cavemen?
Oh.
Because at first I didn't know that his memory's wiped. Like, it doesn't really mention that up until like later on. It's like, I've got no memory of everything. You just have him saying like a variety of consonants and vowels that just make no sense.
Sounds like the Grant Morrison special, if I can be honest.
But no, he comes out and he's just like a blank slate and a muscle-bound body. And he has to make things work for himself, which he does.
He does. As we talked with Cody, he kind of brought up that every era that he goes into, he kind of fine-tunes a different aspect of the Batman mythology.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting. Like, there's a detective era. There's, like, the symbology of, like, the monstrous bat. There's all these different facets that make Batman into the ultimate bat god that he becomes at the end.
Yes.
And it was really cool to, like, you take all that away from him and let it almost, like, happen organically.
Yeah.
Like, he's just piecing his personality together.
Yes.
Because he's the ultimate detective.
Right.
He's the ultimate man, baby.
He is just the ultimate, period. Like, that's what it is. What I found... So he gets sent all the way back to the Stone Age, and he like, cements himself in a legacy there, but like quite in a ironic happenstance, it's also meets with like bat people, like people who worship bats, and it's like, oh, that's a coincidence. What if he ran into people who loved
ducks,
dead ducks, and he becomes Darkwing Duck at the end of this?
Has there ever been like a multiverse crossover with Darkwing Duck and Batman? I mean, they are essentially two sides of the same coin,
That's right, they are.
Who owns Darkwing Duck?
Disney.
Shit.
But with that, like, there is this sacred, almost like holy site that starts there, and like over time, that happens to have like Wayne Manor almost built on top of it.
Yeah, he doesn't really like go different locations. He's in the same spot. It's just like time moves forward.
Yes.
And yeah, eventually like the manor is built there, but we go through like pirates in the Wild West and all this shit, and it's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
I don't love the way it ultimately was handled. Like, there's just something about it that didn't quite like connect all the dots in a way that I maybe wished it did.
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing pitch, but somehow I feel like I left feeling like I wanted a little more out of it.
Yeah. I liked in the omnibus how it is like every other issue is the return of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Because if I was reading this all together, I would have come out of it being like, okay. Because I
don't feel like it all adds up somehow, but if you have like a break between each one, you're just like, it's fine, like time passed, and then like we get to the next adventure.
Exactly. And I think in the Batman and Robin stuff, there's also added Justice League parts where they're also searching for him at the same time, which are not in the Return of Bruce Wayne's parts.
Right, yeah.
Which I want to also know, like, during this time, in the Justice League books, are they looking for Batman?
I wondered that too. This is one where it feels like maybe some of the tie-in books or other books that were happening at the same time maybe shed some more light on this as well.
Yeah.
Like maybe they did some of that heavy lifting of like, yeah, we know he's back in time. You know, I don't know if they ever say that in this. I feel like Grant takes a lot for granted from his readers, where it's like...
Well, his name is Grant.
Right. They are operating on such a different plane that I think sometimes Morrison has a hard time, like, dumbing himself down to the general audience.
Yeah.
Where they're just like, oh, come on, aren't you following along? Come on, get with it, man.
I felt like if there was a Justice League part of that, I would have loved to see it included in this. Because, like, out of nowhere, Superman, Green Lantern, Rip Hunter, and Booster Gold are going back in the time sphere, searching through time to look for Bruce Wayne. Because apparently they figured out, he's got to be back in time. Like, that
where else could he possibly be?
So we brought him in the last episode. That's the only logical explanation for this.
Yep.
He's back in time.
Yep.
So, at first, they shoot to what I think is an amazing introduction to, like, the DC canon, the very end of time.
Yeah.
Where they meet these, like...
the end of everything or
these,
whatever.
like, timekeeper people who are, like... They're almost like watchers, but, like... They're not. They're like weird, stringy other beings.
They're
like,
very stringy.
That are like, yeah, we're approaching the end of time. All these things are adding up or whatever, except this one little inconsistency that's really weird.
It's a bat-shaped inconsistency.
But if you listen to the overhead intercom, it's doom is imminent in 14 minutes.
Yes.
So you really need to get the questions started here.
I love that, like, when the first cave person is going into the cave, a myriad of bats shoot out, and everyone's afraid, and then out steps Bruce. Like, the first time you see Bruce, he's got the bat belt slung over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Just looks like a badass right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And then he ends up helping this tribe, who is at war with another tribe, led by Vandal Savage, of all characters, which I thought was kind of cool. And he ends up, like, recruiting his tribe and this one young male member in particular, who's like his Robin of that era. And he takes the skinned carcass of a giant bat, which I believe was the hyper killer or whatever from that Darkseid sent back with him.
Oh shit.
And he uses that as like his cowl there. And he just like he fully embraces that bat spirit right off the bat.
Yeah.
Ooh.
A lot of bats.
That's a lot of bats. And once he kind of rights that wrong with that tribe and he kind of helps this other tribe, boom, he's shot into the time stream and winds up in like the Puritan era.
Yeah.
Where he's like a witch finder.
Yeah.
And then his detective skills are put to use.
Yes. And
from there we get the artwork by Fraser Irving, which is fantastic.
Yep.
As we've said, very off-putting. But
fantastically off-putting.
Yep. And then it just kind of goes on from there. He hits up like the high seas as a pirate, and then like a detective, like a private investigator. Before, I think, is that it then?
And the Wild West.
And the Wild West, where he encounters Jonah Hex. And Vandal Savage again.
Yep.
So it goes all across the DC history.
Right.
I feel like it could have been more than 6 issues, to be honest.
Yeah.
But this whole thing felt like so truncated, where I just felt like I could have used a little bit more time to like flesh some of this out.
Because really all it did for me, once you realize it's like, oh, like he's having a little adventure here. He's got no memory of what came before any of this. But when an eclipse happens, he's shot off into the next time and it starts all over again.
Yeah.
And he's a new person. Somebody's just like, hey, this is what you are, and you're going to be this until you realize that's who you're not.
Yeah.
And then you're getting shot off into the next time.
Yeah. And I had many questions on this, such as like, why does he just get shot into the next time period?
Right.
Why, with every time jump, is he like infused with like Darkseid energy to the point where the ultimate like climax of this is when he reaches the present, he has built up enough time juice that he's going to explode and destroy existence.
But he also goes to the end of time first and meets with the Justice League, but they're not aware of him, correct?
Yeah, because he's disguised as like one of the timekeepers.
And then he takes their time machine to go to the present and then comes out as like a bat god, and then that's where he meets the Batman and Robin run that we were on, and he comes back as a bat god and defeats everybody in Bruce Wayne's back.
Yeah, but he's still like full of time juice.
He's just chock full of time juice.
And they like the Justice League has to essentially like fight him and beat the time juice out of him.
Yeah,
and he spits up all the time juice. And then he's okay, I guess.
Yeah.
This was the messy middle where I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
And this is something that we asked Cody, and his essential response was like, don't worry about it, it's just comics. I have an investment in this. I know that it's comics, but I just like I'm trying to look for a little bit of a deeper meaning, but essentially it's like don't worry about like how this works out. Worry about like thematically what it means. Which is I guess kind of a hard thing to separate sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because when your big question is why
is this,
I don't care about how.
Yeah. So through this time traveling adventure, we also encounter an ancestral Thomas Wayne who grows up to be when he gets older, he's going to be Dr. Hurt.
Yes.
And it is through Darkseid's like hunter-killer thing that he sends after the hyper adapter that's been chasing Bruce Wayne through time. That Barbados bat creature that they summon in a graveyard is what infuses with Thomas Wayne and becomes like the immortal Dr. Hurt.
Yes.
That has decided he's going to like hunt Wayne through time.
Not his dad, Thomas Wayne.
Nope. Even though he does pretend to be him at one point.
It's a different Thomas Wayne.
Right.
Just remember that.
That's why you have this book. Trying to explain this, it's like, why do people like this?
Why do we like this?
But I do.
Lord.
The thing is, I don't love this one. I like the first volume of Morrison's Batman much more than I like the second one.
Yeah.
I think this one gets a bit messy and convoluted. To the point where it's like, I get it. I get what you're trying to say, but I think it's too messy.
I think it starts strong, but then with the whole return of and everything, I think...
Yeah, I want to love the return of Bruce Wayne, but I just never can bring myself to, like, understand the intricacies enough to say that I like it.
I know. I'm right there with you.
All right. I love the idea. I just feel like I just wish it was told a little differently.
Yeah. But this is what we got.
That's what we got.
And Bruce Wayne's back.
He is.
He
comes back as Bat-God.
He deemed himself as the Bat-God, which Grant Morrison loves. He is like infallible. He is like the ultimate. He is Batman.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is also, I believe, kind of the first like full-on instance where Grant presents Batman as never being alone. And when he becomes Batman, he did so by calling for help to Alfred. Mm-hmm. That very initial time where he was bleeding in year one, he's sitting on the chair looking at the bust of his father.
Yeah.
And the decision to become Batman was coupled with the decision to ring the bell for Alfred to come and help him and patch his wounds, or else he would die. And they fully bring that into the Batman has always had people with him.
Yep.
He always needs like his compatriots.
Yes. A support system.
Yeah, yep. And it's that upon that realization that Bruce goes on to open up Batman Incorporated, which will be the next volume here, Batman Inc. Mm-hmm. And he brings Batman to the world. He says, like, I'm Bruce Wayne, I support this message, and I've been funding Batman's activities for decades.
Yes. I'm excited to get, because at this point, I've never read any of this Morrison stuff past here. I've dabbled in a little bit of Volume 2 before, unbeknownst to me, I guess. Yeah. But I've never read any Batman Incorporated.
In your dreams.
Yeah. So I'm excited to get into something I should have read forever ago, but I haven't. And maybe we'll get to it this bat year. Oh my God. Probably not, though. We'll figure it out.
We don't know when this bat year's gonna end.
That's true. It could just run until we die.
Yep. We could go back in time and start it over. We could actually cause bat year.
Oh shit!
So what did you think about the whole idea that like Darkseid shot Bruce Wayne through time to eliminate Batman? But in doing so, Batman used that power to basically, like, create his own mythology. I think that's something pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
It is a high concept idea.
Oh, yes. It is very high concept because he shot him back in time unknowing, like, any of his previous life. He was able to do this. And, like, make Batman from nothing.
Yes.
That's hard for me to get behind, but when it happens, I'm okay with it.
I like the idea that like Bruce is just destined to be Batman. And it almost comes to that like whatever happened to the Caped Crusader, Neil Gaiman issue, where like it was so defeatingly sad to me where he's always going to be Batman. Like it ends with Martha Wayne giving birth and it's like, oh, look how I'm going to name him Bruce. Oh my God, he's so wonderful. And you're just like, fuck, that kid's going to have to grow up and be Batman. It's just like inescapable. Like no matter what, he will be Batman. It's this thing that like he can't get away from. And in this, like he just uses that to like form himself into this mythological ideal.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, Darkseid tries to turn that against him, and he just takes it
says, fuck
and,
you.
like, just makes it even more Batman.
He's more Batman than he's ever been.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Darkseid.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
I think like we said, it's a high-level idea. That is an amazing concept. I don't know how much I got that from the reading on the first go-through.
Sure.
And then, like, talking through it and, like, reading some supplemental stuff, I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess so.
I don't
like,
think
maybe I was slow on it, but...
I don't think you'd get much out of it if you just read that trade.
No,
you would
I don't
need
think so.
extra stuff beside it for, I think, to take full effect.
Mm-hmm. In execution, I felt it was a little lacking, but I'm giving it a pass.
Okay.
I'm giving it the Morrison. I feel like they know more than I do on this, so I'm just going to defer to their best judgment.
Very good.
Obviously, like, I wasn't 100% on board every step of the way, but overall, I love what they're throwing down.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Same.
It's above our pay grade here. Oh my god.
Well, what did you think of the return of Bruce Wayne? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you'd like to chat with us on our Discord about it, you can do so through a simple donation to our Patreon. And if you would like to have some Bat Year merch, we've got some at redbubble.com.
That's right. And as we've said, we've got the Bat phone live here. Oh my god.
Shit, it happened again.
Oh god. Hold on. Maybe they'll call back. No. All right.
Well, fuck me.
So, Troy, what did you think... Let's just get fully back into the episode.
All right.
As we're wrapping up. What do you think about this idea that, like, Gotham just has this bat presence to it? Because this is something Scott Snyder explores quite a bit in his run. And also, we got a hint of it in Jeff Johns' Earth One Batman that we read earlier.
Yeah.
What do you think that there's just, like, this entity, this presence of this Barbados?
What I think is that
What is Barbados?
What I think is that there may be some sort of gas leak under this location. Everybody's going insane.
Let me tell you something. I think there's bat signs all over the place.
Oh, lordy.
And you know what? I got one right here.
Oh, wow. Wow. I wish you would have called and we could have done the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know if it's grown in enough to really show, but it's like I need a trim, so I'm gonna cut into a bat symbol, see if we can make some sort of hyper sigil.
Oh shit, I could have done a Robin. Thanks for joining us in this episode. Thanks for joining us. As always, I've been Troy to the Max Extreme.
And I've been Ghost Hunter Dave.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
My word.
That was a fun episode.